Okay, so yeah, again, this class is on showing homes and working through some of the right and wrong ways to do that. And so first of all, I want to start off by looking at how do you actually set up the showings and how do you deal with the process of showing homes. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to share my screen for just a minute. And we'll go over here to the MLS. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so when you're showing homes, you're looking for homes for your client on the market, and let's just say we happen to be looking in Arden, and let's say 325 to 350,000, something like that. And there's these 4 homes that we wanted to show. So there's a couple ways you can set up the showings. You can click on this little purple button right underneath the pictures on the MLS that just says schedule a showing. That's a very easy way to do it through that. And so you can click there, and you don't usually have to log back in, but I guess I've been logged into the MLS for a little while, so it wants me to log back in. I know, hold on, hold on. Okay. I guess let's log back in and try again. All right, sorry about that. All right, let's go back here. We'll find our homes again. We'll go back to Arden. And so as I'm doing that, there's a couple ways you can set up the showings, right? You can set them up here online, or you can call the Showing Time Appointment Center yourself. I would recommend, if you haven't done so already, I would have the Showing Time phone number put into your phone. That number is right here, the 800-746-9464. I would put that into your cell phone as a contact. In my phone, I think it's just called Showings, or you can name it Showing Time or something like that. And the reason you need that, even if you're somebody that likes to click here and make your appointments, you still need that because you'll be out showing property, and then somebody wants to not see this one home because they just don't like the neighborhood. And so you have to call and cancel the appointment, or you're running late for an appointment. You need to call and get additional time onto your appointment time. So make sure you've got that phone number handy. There's also the Showing Time app that you can put onto your phone, and I would recommend doing that as well. You can make those same requests through the app, but frankly, when I'm driving around showing buyers, it's just easier for me to call. But either way, using the app or calling, it's up to you. All right, so let's say we wanted to make a showing for this one. One of the things to note is you see appointment type, appointment required right here. It'll let you know right up front, hey, is this an appointment required, or is it vacant, go and show, or whatever it is. So this one, we know we're going to have to make an appointment, right? So just be aware of that. One of the things that I'll talk about later, when you're making appointments, typically you are going to have more than one home to see. So if we were going to go see these 4 homes, I don't know about you, but I can't remember which home I'm approved for and which home I'm not. There's just no way for this mind to remember that. So I have to make some sort of note. Of course, you can have Showing Time text you, and they'll email you, so you can always go back to reference that. But I like to have something a little easier than even that. So when I'm showing homes, I always have the printed MLS sheet of the property with me, just for easy reference. People will always ask questions like, well, what's the square footage of this house? And I'm thinking, it doesn't matter. Go feel the house, see if you like it. But that's not the answer you can give. So you have to have some of that information easily available. So I still like to print them out. And then the bottom right-hand corner of that piece of paper, once I make the appointment, I put a little circle on the bottom. And once I'm approved, I put a star in it. So that makes it easy for me to tell, hey, have I called to make the appointment? And then have I been approved? Because some of these you'll be go and show, you'll be approved right away. And others like this one, you'll have an appointment required. And so they might get back to you in a matter of minutes or seconds and say, yep, you're approved. Or it might take them hours and maybe even tomorrow before they let you know, yeah, you're approved for that showing tomorrow. So it's just an easy reference. That's what I do, okay? But let's say we wanted to make this appointment. I could say I'm scheduling a single showing. You can look at the week ahead and make an appointment for next Monday, next Wednesday, you know, whatever you wanted to do. Anything that the seller has put in there or the listing agent has put in there where you can't see it will show up in black. In this case, we just can't go back in time, so it's blacked out because this has already left us today. But sometimes people have like all Sundays blocked off, or I know we've got one listing that this Saturday they have all Saturday blocked off because they have some major birthday party and a bunch of family coming over, and so they don't want any showings. So we can block off certain days, okay? But let's say we wanted to see it tomorrow at 1 o'clock. I would just click that. It brings it up over here. Gives us a, you know, you can say, hey, we're going to just be there right at 1, so I only need 1 to 1:15. Or maybe there's a couple showings ahead of time, and so I might want to say it'll be somewhere between 1 and 2. Usually when you're making the showings, you got your showing thing here, but maybe it's a second showing or a third showing. You're bringing the same people back. It's not a second showing if you're bringing a different buyer client to the same house. It's not a second showing. It's still a regular showing, okay? A virtual showing would be if you're just going and you're gonna like take a video for your client, something like that. It's kind of the same thing as an agent preview where you're going just to look over a property for a buyer client. It is important to make the distinction because I've sometimes not done that, and I just schedule a showing and I'm doing really an agent preview for an out-of-town buyer, and then sure enough the seller meets you at the door. The seller's outside watching you, and they notice you don't have a client, and they complain to their agent, say, hey, the client never showed up. You say, well, I was just doing an agent preview. And they say, well, my seller's really upset because they cleaned all day to make sure the house was perfect. And it's like, well, I still matter too, in my opinion, but people do get upset sometimes. So just make sure you do put the right indication of what's going on. Is it an inspection? Your final walkthrough? You're just coming for photography? Like, what is it? Okay. So we do that. And all we got to do is hit request appointment. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to bother these people when we're not actually trying to make the appointment. But that's all we got to do online. All right. If you call to make the appointment, you just call that number. The first time you call, they'll ask you a couple of questions, but then they'll have your phone number and your name and license number all registered under your phone. So usually when I call, they say, hi, this is Jane with Centralized Showing Service. Is this Aaron with Weichert Realtors Unlimited? I say, yep, sure is. And I say, great. What can I do for you? Or what would you like to show? And you just give them the MLS number is what they prefer. Just give them the MLS numbers. I'd like to see 365-0448. I say, great. When would you like to see that? I'd like to see that tomorrow between 1 and 2. And they'll type into their computer and they say, okay, well, we've made the request. It's an appointment required, so they'll get back to you on more information. Are there any others you'd like to see? And maybe there are. So you say, yeah, I'd also like to see 362-8224. And they'll say, okay, when would you like to see that? And I might say, well, let's see, maybe 1:30 to 2:30 tomorrow. Right? So that's how those conversations will go. All right? So pretty simple, pretty basic, but you can call, you can do it on the app as well, but you can call, go on the app, or click the little purple button. Me personally, if I'm gonna set up a showing for 1 or 2 or maybe 3 houses, I like to just use the little click button. It's a little easier, just click, boom, do it on my own, don't have to talk to anybody. But if I have to schedule like a whole marathon day of showings, like 10 homes in a row, I tend to like to call better because then I can go through my list one by one, talk to them. Sometimes they'll say, well, actually, they're not good this time, they're good that time. And you can kind of talk through it while you're on the phone. Okay? So what if it's an appointment required? And we wanted to see it today at 3 o'clock. and 2:30 comes around, we still don't have approval. What should you do? Well, my opinion would be the first thing is just go ahead and call the listing agent. Okay, go ahead and call the listing agent and just say, hey, wanted to let you know I'm trying to show your home at 232 Weston Road today at 3 o'clock. I've called the showing service. We don't have an approval yet. Would you mind trying to help me out with this? Most of the time, listing agents will try to help you out because they obviously want you to show the home. And on a quick turnaround like that, sometimes they can get the seller on the phone faster than showing service can. So that's what I'd recommend when you're in a time crunch like that. Get a hold of that listing agent. All right. If you are set to go from 2 to 3 o'clock and you're at the home before showing this one and it's 2:50 and you're looking at your GPS and it says you'll be there in 12 minutes, well, that's going to be after 3 o'clock. So you need to call the centralized showing service and let them know that you're going to be late and that you'd like to request from 3 to 3:15, and they'll work through that with you. You have to call though, because our lock boxes now can tell the exact moment you enter that box, and so there's no way to hide. I mean, to be honest with you, in the past, before they had that technology, if you were 1 or 2 or 5, 10 minutes late, it was just kind of like a grace period. Like people were like, whatever, But now that it can be proven when you're in that box, it's against the law and it's against your code of ethics to go to a property outside of your assigned time. Now, if you go at 3:02 instead of 3 o'clock, I don't think anybody's gonna say anything to you, but it is the way we're supposed to do it. And just think, if you're that seller, right? If you're out of your house from 2 to 3, you're probably planning on coming back right at 3, right? A lot of sellers might be. So you might, be waiting down the street and you pull up right at 3, and then sure enough, 3:05, an agent pulls up. You could be a little bit ticked off about that, right? So just, be courteous of the seller's time and make sure you're communicating what's going on. Okay. All right. So once you do your showings, you will get feedback requests. They generate automatically in showing time. Make sure you're filling those out. All right. It's one of those courtesies of being a realtor. We help each other out, and you be as honest as you possibly can be in that feedback. Being fully aware that oftentimes your feedback will go directly to the seller. All right, so I'm going to come off of our share here for just a minute, but oftentimes our feedback goes directly to the seller. So don't say anything personal against them. Don't say anything you wouldn't say to their face, right? So if you're criticizing their home, it's okay to tell them, we were trying to do the showing and it was very distracting that the home smells like cat pee. That was very distracting to us. That's okay to say that. It's not okay to say, oh gosh, these people are pigs. We couldn't even see the home. These people are gross. You can't say that stuff, right? Because you wouldn't say that to their face. You'd be more courteous and polite than that. So give them the honest feedback, but just understand you might be saying it directly to the seller. And I can tell you, if you set your sellers up on that direct feed for feedback, sometimes agents will say things that are directed, straight at them, and they do not respond well to that. So just like I wouldn't either. If somebody comes in and you want to criticize my house, we're going to have a problem. So, I don't care if you give me some feedback, but if you tell me like, oh, those pictures of those kids on the wall, like that was just inappropriate, like I'm going to inappropriately rearrange your face. So, like it makes you angry, right? So don't say that sort of stuff to people. Just like if you were talking directly to the seller, what would you maybe tell them to help them sell? Another reason why to do the feedback is because when you're a listing agent, you're going to want the feedback to give to your seller. And oftentimes you'll be competing with your seller on things like, hey, I really feel like we need to take that carpet out, or we really need to paint that room, or pressure wash that driveway, or whatever. And the seller's like, yeah, okay, but we don't, let's just try it without it. If you can get that feedback from a couple agents confirming what you've said, and I will admit, I've gone as far as sometimes calling agents and saying, hey, could you put this in the feedback? you know, and just telling them like, hey, how did you feel about the driveway? And they say, yeah, it was like annoyingly dirty. Like, yeah, I know. I'm trying to get them to pressure wash that. Would you please say something in the feedback for me? And we can help each other out like that. Okay. So I would recommend always doing your feedback. In all honesty, when you list property, you'll get feedback about 30–40% of the time, and it's annoying. It's very annoying. So let's not be like everyone else. Turn your feedback in. You don't always have a ton to say, and that's okay. Just say, yeah, it showed really well, just not right for my client. That's fine. But if you have anything that you'd want to actually mention, just mention that. Okay? All right. So there's a couple little things on the logistics of showing. I want to get started on our 10 tips for better showings. But before we do that, any other questions you guys have on the logistics side of it? Any issues you've had at lockboxes or anything like that?
Do I need to get a lockbox key code? Is that something I need to sign up for? Because I haven't done that yet.
Okay, yes. We got to have you contact Bridget Bouvier, and you get signed up for that Century Lock, and then you can turn the app on to your phone, and you open the boxes through the app on the phone. I know, Pam, you were getting started on that a week or so ago. Did that work out okay? Are you all set on that now?
Well, I haven't paid for it yet, Aaron, but I will.
Okay,
I
all right.
was doing the 1-day code, but yeah, I'll get that squared away soon.
So as soon as it gets paid for, then you're good to go, though.
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, good to go. And then again, we have lock boxes here at the office, so I always recommend when you get that set up, you can just practice on our lock boxes here. It's not that hard, but it's just something you got to play with it a couple of times. You're like, okay, I get it. Okay, so let's talk about 10 tips for better showings. All right. So tip number 1, manage the expectations. All right. And what we mean by that is, if they want a home that looks like $1 million and they have a budget of $100,000, we need to manage those expectations, right? Part of this is part of your buyer consultation, but also consistently throughout the process, making sure that they understand what's going on out there. That is our job to get them a good deal or a good home. And an answer might be yes and yes. It depends on the individual, what they're actually doing, which we'll find out in that buyer consultation. But most of the time, for your typical residential buyer, I remind them, my job is not to get you the best possible deal on a home all the time. I want to make sure you get a good, fair deal, and that we're protecting you and getting you the best deal I possibly can. But especially in a market like we're in right now, that's a strong seller's market, the best home that you're looking for is what I'm trying to get done. So if you fall in love with a home, my job is to help you get that home. And I can only speak for myself, but on a couple of homes that I've fallen in love with, that I've purchased for myself, I would gladly have overpaid for those homes because they were what I wanted at the time. In the case, one home I probably did slightly overpay, and it worked out fine. And the other one, I think I still ended up getting a pretty good deal, but I certainly would have paid more if I could not have negotiated that any better. So I know from my own personal experiences, when I'm in love with a home like that, I'll pay whatever because that's the home I need for what I'm trying to get done for my family, right? So just reminding your buyers of that, like, that's our job, is to help them get the right home, not always the best possible deal, but managing their expectations on going to the home. So hopefully you've done a great buyer consultation and you fully understand what they are looking for. And maybe one of the things that they've talked about is, yeah, we're from Florida and we're not thrilled about all the steep driveways and things like that. Maybe that had come up in a conversation. and you see a home that fits all their other criteria. It's all great. It's all perfect, but it's got a little bit of a steep driveway. So you want to manage that expectation by, before you go to the house, say something like, hey, by the way, this driveway is super steep. All right, guys, this is going to be, I know you said you were kind of against the steeper driveways, but this is going to be really steep. And then when they get there, they see that and they say, oh, okay, well, it's not quite as bad as you made it out to be. And then it's a little bit better. Or they're like, we really wanted a home that's all renovated. We don't want to do any work. And maybe the whole home is renovated except one bathroom wasn't done yet. And you say, oh, guys, I want to let you know this bathroom's hideous. Okay, I know that the house is great. I really feel like it's a good fit for you. That's why I want to bring you out here and take a look. But this bathroom's hideous. All right. And then they get out there and they see the bathroom and they say, oh, okay, we would want to renovate this, but it's not so bad. But if you manage those expectations correctly, then they expect that. And to give you a real world example of that, like, have you ever had someone tell you, like, there's a movie out? No, I guess we all wish we could go to the movies right now, but is there a movie out there that that you were kind of wanting to see, and then one of your friends says, man, this is the best movie ever. Oh man, you got to go see it. And you go see it and you're like, yeah, it was all right. It's good. It's all right. Because your expectation was so high, right? Whereas if somebody says, yeah, it was good. Yeah, it's worth seeing, but I don't know. And then you get in there and you're like, this was awesome. And you could actually change your experience in the theater based on what your expectation is of that movie, right? Like for me right now, the one movie I really, really, really want to see in the theater is that Maverick, right? The Top Gun sequel with Tom Cruise. Like, I really want to see that in the theater, and I have extremely high expectations for that movie. So if it's not unbelievable, I'll probably be disappointed, even though I'm sure it'll be very good. If it's not unbelievable, I'll probably be disappointed just because my expectations are so high for that movie, right? So manage the expectations for your buyers and sellers, and that will be helpful, okay? All right, tip number 2, play the prices right, okay? So you really got to make sure they have a good understanding of what the price is for a home in our area right now. Even if they understood what that was 3 months ago, it's not the same today. So they have to have a good understanding of what the prices are in the area. So one of the ways to do that is to play the prices right. So you could actually physically go with them, drive around, and look at a couple of homes maybe that have recently sold, and you just drive by them and you say, well, what do you think that home sold for? Don't tell them, just show them it's 3 bedrooms, 1,800 square feet. What do you think that home sold for? And they say, oh, I think it sold for 180,000. You say, oh no, it sold for 420,000. Oh wow, really? Oh wow. You go to take them the next one. Yeah, this one's a 3 bedroom, 2 bath, 1,750 square feet. What do you think that one sold for? Well, gosh, I don't know, maybe 350. Oh, that one sold for 400. Oh wow, okay. And usually by about the 3rd or the 4th house, they've got it down pretty well on what it goes for. Now, we used to do this a lot. It's not as helpful these days because the internet's got all this information out there. And so people usually have a pretty good understanding of what things are going for. But Zillow, Realtor.com, those places, they don't have the sold prices. They just have what's on the market. So these people usually are still a little bit off on what their expectations are for homes. So you can do this. You don't have to take them out and show homes. You can do this in the office or at their home, just printing off some MLS sheets and putting a sticky note over the prices and saying, okay, look at this home. It's, they can see all the stats on the sheet. What do you think it actually sold for? And do the same thing to make sure they are right on the price. And tying that into the tip number 1 about the expectations, if you take someone out from San Francisco, they're going to think Asheville prices are stupid low, right? Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? This is crazy low. But if you get someone that is moving here from, I don't know, Fayetteville, North Carolina, in the middle of North Carolina, they're going to think this is ridiculously high, right? Just because of what they're used to seeing based on where they're living now. So sometimes it goes both ways in the same area. Okay? All right, tip number 3, establish the context, right? So perception is reality. Making sure that they understand the context from which we're looking at things. So again, San Francisco versus Fayetteville, North Carolina, coming from different contexts. So homes are really high compared to Fayetteville, and they're really low compared to San Francisco. So looking at making sure that they can see that from a price perspective and understanding where the seller is coming from, that the seller is trying to get the most possible money for their home, as would they if they were selling their home. So understanding the context from which people are looking at things. Like right now, we're hearing some buyers say, well, gosh, we can see all the comparables for this home are at 230. Why are they asking 240? Well, because they can, and the market's saying that they can push the market. And wouldn't you do the same if you were in their shoes, kind of thing, right? And so if you're showing homes, you want to be careful on how you compare and contrast and the way you sequence the homes, all right? So let me go back to the sharing here for a minute. Let's see. All right, we're back here on our MLS page. And if we wanted to sequence these homes, how many do we have? 4, I believe. Perfect. Okay. So if we wanted to sequence these homes in the best possible order, and let's just say that we went out and previewed all 4 of these homes for our client, and we're in love with them. Let's just, for making it easy, let's say it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Number 1 is the best home. Number 2 is the second best. Number 3 is the third best. Number 4 is the fourth best. All that being said, number 4 is still really a good fit for this buyer, right? Otherwise, why are we showing them the house? So it's still a really good fit. But they're in town this Saturday, and you're doing a great job as a real estate agent. You're previewing the homes for them so you could eliminate some, and you've got it down to this 4. And you've, of course, talked with them on the phone. They like these 4 as well, but you've previewed them, and you think in this order is how they will go as far as what they think, what you think they will buy, what you think they should buy, right? And if you've done a good enough buyer consultation, you will know what they'll buy, or you'll know what they should buy, and you'll try to help push them in that right direction. Okay, so let's just say they're 1, 2, 3, 4. What sequence would we want to see them in? Would we want to see them worst to best? Would we want to see them best to worst? What do y'all think?
Start in the middle.
Start in the middle, like what? Like 3, and then what? 2, 4, 1, or
Maybe 3, 1, 2, 4.
3, 1, 2, 4. Okay, Pam, what do you think?
Yeah, I don't know. That's tough. I don't know. I may go with the best. Because what if they run out of time? They don't have time to see everything, and
Okay,
yeah,
that's a good thought, but hopefully we got time. Let's say
Yeah.
we got time. But yeah, it's an interesting question. It is, right? So most people kind of seem to think we should go 4, 3, 2, 1, kind of end on a high note, right? And then there's some people like Pam might think we just go best to worst, okay? So here's what we'd actually want to do, and then I'll explain to you why, okay? What we'd really want to do is go 4, 3, 1, 2, okay? And here's why. If you go 4, 3, 2, 1, it's like using a pair of binoculars, all right? And so when you're using a pair of binoculars and you gotta focus in, do you focus all the way to where there's perfect vision, or do you go just a little bit past it? You go a little bit past it, right? Everybody does. It's just kind of the way our human brains work. It's getting better, it's getting better, it's getting better. Well, if I keep pushing this button, it must keep getting better, right? So you keep pushing the button, you keep adjusting until, oh no, now it's not as good. Let's pull back to where it was perfect. You see what I'm saying? And we do the same thing. So if you were to go 4, 3, 2, 1, what would happen is They go see home number 4 and they say, oh, this is pretty good. I like it. Okay. I don't think it's perfect, but I like it. Then you go see number 3 and they say, oh, wow. Yeah, this is a little bit better. I love this. This will work. We can do this. This is great. Keep this on the list. We like it. You go see number 2 and they're like kind of over the moon. They're like, this is fantastic. Yeah, I like this even better. Yeah, great, Aaron. We got some good homes here. We're good. What we got next? You go see number 1 and they're just, oh yeah, this is perfect. We got a lot of good homes to choose from. But yeah, this is the best one so far. What else we got? Well, that's the last home we have. Oh, really? Okay, so, gosh, we love all these homes. Maybe we should see what else comes up on the market. No, buy this house, right? So that's what's going to happen, though. You're setting them up psychologically for that failure of thinking, well, certainly something else better must come up because they keep getting better and better and better and better, right? So there's just psychology behind that. And if you go best to worst, the problem with that is they really, really like number 1. They pretty much like number 2. They kind of like number 3. They don't really like number 4. And then they're kind of left in a downward spiral of, this wasn't that great. And it definitely kind of knocks number 1 down a little bit because now all they're thinking about is how things kept getting worse. And they might end up in the same scenario. Well, let's see what else comes up because, yes, number 1 was awesome, but I don't know how much in love we are with it. So you kind of set yourself up for some failure there. But if you go 4, 3, 1, 2, then we're going, best, and then we go to the first, and then we come slightly back, and you're setting them up psychologically for saying, okay, we got some good homes here. I think that third one we saw, which was, of course, our number 1, yeah, I think that one's better than this one. Let's go ahead and write up the offer. All right, so all of this, I know all of this is in a vacuum, best case scenario, no other issues at play. I know, but if you have a choice and you have 4, 5, 6 homes to show, this has been proven psychologically to be the best way to show them, okay, to sequence them in that order. Now, again, let's say these are all in Arden, so this would work because we're close enough. Let me see if I can get that map to work. So yeah, these are close enough that you could do that, right? Even if you had to go 4, 3, 2, 1 or whatever, that would work. What you wouldn't do is if you had 4 homes and one of them was here, one of them was here, one of them was here. Like you're not going to go, you had 3 homes here, and you're going to go boom, and then back here, and then back here. Like, no, we're not doing that. You'll drive them crazy. But if they're in a reasonable area, that's when you can pull that sequencing. All right. Otherwise, if you've got 4 homes to see, but they're in all 4 corners of the area, you're probably just gonna go from whatever makes the most geographic sense. Okay. So again, in a perfect world, that's how we'd want to sequence the homes. All right. Any questions on that? All right. All right. Tip number 4. Tip number 4, engage their emotions. Buying a home is absolutely an emotional decision. Buying anything is an emotional decision. All right, no matter what you buy, it's emotional. Anybody want to argue that? Anything you buy is emotional? I always have used this example, and it's really valid now after the last few months. But the example we always used to use was, how about buying toilet paper? Is that an emotional decision? And everyone used to laugh because like, oh, well, no, that's not emotional. Well, what about running out of toilet paper? Is that emotional? Well, now it's more powerful than ever because we actually saw that, right? We actually saw it happen where everybody's running out. So, but yeah, truly, truly, everything is an emotional decision, no matter what it is. I don't matter what you think. Whatever you want to buy, it becomes down to an emotional decision. And it might be something like, what about gasoline? That's not an emotional decision. Really? Because what about not being able to get to work on time? Like everything will dig down to some emotional reaction. And in fact, there's some science behind it where some people have had some brain damage through car accidents and stuff that damage the emotional part of their brain, and they are incapable of making decisions. So, I mean, that proves it. And it's really interesting, like why, their emotional side is damaged, but amazingly, they now can't make decisions because they have no emotions. Really, really fascinating. So remember that everything is emotional when purchasing, and certainly with homes, right? So engage their emotions. How do we do that? Well, one of the things I'd recommend, one of the little things you can do to really be a super agent is to have little buyer packets for buyers. Little packets with little cover sheet, little cute cover sheets saying, like I just did one for a young lady buying her first house, and it was like the Tanya first home search, and I put a little girl, like a little clip art kind of girl detective, like searching, and she just thought it was so cute, so just a little cover packet like that. But then you've got the MLS sheets and everything in that. So I'm telling you about the packet to say that packet stays in the car. All right, the packet's great and everything, but avoid letting them bring those feature sheets and all of that into the house, because that's all the technical stuff. And what they end up doing is staring at the sheet and looking at all the stats and data. Who cares about that? And that's why I really do get kind of emotional, I guess, about people that are all upset about different square footage. Like, who cares? Go feel the house. If it's the right house for you, if it feels big enough, then it's big enough. I don't care if it's 1,700 square feet or 2,000 square feet. If you walk into that house and it works for you, then what's the problem? What are you worried about? So I'm just a big believer in that. But when you have those feature sheets, people tend to just stare at those. So leave those in the car. Before you go into a house, it's good to go over that with them. Even if standing in the driveway, they're driving themselves, you're driving yourself, like we have to do right now, and you're in the driveway, and you just say, okay, guys, this one's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It's priced at $240,000, 1,800 square feet. Here's some of the data. All right. Now forget all that. Go feel the house. Right. That's being a true advisor for people, like helping them get into the right state of mind. We're not freaking door openers. Okay. Be a good advisor for them when you're going through it. And that's one of those things you can do to help engage their emotions. Another thing you can do is be quiet. When you go show the home, please shut up. Just be quiet. Let them see the home. All right. Now, I will say again, you need to let them know you're going to do this. I had an instance once where I had a buyer, and I was practicing this, and I was being quiet as he's looking around the home. And I noticed after a couple of homes, he's starting to get pretty irritable. And then he started getting like just plain rude. And I was like, dude, what is up? What's the problem? What happened? I don't know what I did, but you're clearly pissed off at me. What happened? And he said, well, we're here showing these homes and you're not saying a darn thing. I'm trying to, buy a house and you're just standing around twiddling your thumbs. You're not doing anything. And I said, oh man, I'm so sorry, but I was doing that on purpose. Like, here's why. So I explained to him what I was doing, why I was doing it. And it was still hard to kind of repair that relationship, because at that point he felt like I just wasn't doing my job. And so from that point on forward, I learned, like, you better tell them what you're doing, why you're doing it. So they don't have a problem with it. I really have never met anybody that had a problem with it, as long as I told them, hey, when we're going through the home, I'd rather just be quiet and let you look through the home. And some people are like, well, man, I'm a talker, so I'd like to just keep talking with you. That's fine. Go ahead. But I'm not going to just interject myself when you're trying to look at a room. Okay. If you got questions, you can ask, we can chat about it, but I really need you to be able to feel the house. So advise them of that correctly. Like, tell them that we got to be enjoying the home, be in the moment with the home. Okay. So let them know you're doing that. All right. Don't do the, all right, we'll talk about that one later. But yeah, so just let them feel the home emotionally. You can mention things that will bring emotional thoughts to mind, like, where would you put your Christmas tree? Or could you imagine where you're going to have Thanksgiving dinner? Or look at that great backyard, be perfect for your 4th of July fireworks. Or whatever. But, get them engaged in those holidays, birthdays, things like that. That will bring that emotional tie to the home. Okay. All right. Tip number 5, divulge the weakness early. Kind of goes back to managing their expectations. Anything that they're not going to like about the house, divulge it right away. Because again, it gets back to what we said earlier. If they know about it, then when they go in, they say, oh, okay. But if they don't know about it, then they feel like they have to defend their position that they don't like that. So maybe they really hate white cabinets. I don't know. And this house is really good for them, but it's got white cabinetry. So, hey guys, I know you don't like the white cabinetry, and these cabinets are white. They are white, okay? You're not going to like them, all right? But I do like the rest of the house. I want you to see it and see what you feel about the rest of it. Now, when they go in and they see that, they're like, okay, yeah, these are white cabinets, but we can replace them. We could do what we want. Like they're just not defensive about it. They expected it. So whatever it is, divulge those weaknesses as early as you possibly can. That way, it'll help them see past it. All right, tip number 6. Don't lead the witness. All right, when you're showing a home, try to follow them the best you can. Okay, when you knock on the door, and actually I forgot to go over this, when you go to the door, you open the lockbox, right? As soon as I get up to the door, I ring the doorbell, right? Well, what if it's a vacant home? I ring the doorbell, right? What if it's a vacant home? You can see in the windows, nobody's there, ring the doorbell, all right? So you ring the doorbell, then I get to the lockbox, get the key out, knock on the door, because not all doorbells work, right? Very few actually work. So you're knocking on the door, kind of listening for that thump in the house. You know what I mean? When someone's kind of coming to the door, you can feel the weight on the ground, just kind of boom, boom, boom. Just kind of wait, see if you hear any of that. And if you do, of course, try to wait for them to come to the door. But you always want to knock, even if it's vacant. Put the key in the door, open it up, knock again, and then announce yourself, right? Hello, realtor, here for the showing, something like that, okay? So always do that, even on a vacant home. I've had a couple of vacant homes where you do that, and then you see somebody or you hear somebody running out the back door. Somebody was there that wasn't supposed to be there. I'd much rather announce myself and have them run out the back door than run into them in the hallway. So always announce yourself like that, kind of lets anybody know who is not supposed to be there, they need to get out. Also, of course, sometimes buyers don't get the message that there's a showing. So certainly you want to announce yourself that way. There's a lot of people that work at night, so they're sleeping during the day. So maybe they didn't get the message. Maybe the wife got the message, didn't tell the husband. You really don't want to, be in that house and then wake somebody up from sleep. That is probably the worst time, right? So announcing yourself like that is always important, okay? All right, so back to tip number 6. Objection, leading the witness. You want to follow them through the house. So you open the door, swing it open, announce yourself, realtor, and kind of come in the door. Watch as they come in, kind of watch their eyes a little bit, watch their actions. And then once they get into the house, just kind of let them lead. You don't have to show them the home, let them lead. All right, avoid being that champion of the obvious or a Captain Obvious, right? Don't do that. Don't walk into the kitchen and say, hey, here's the kitchen. Here's the stove. Hey, over here, that's the living room. Here's a bedroom over here. Come on. They're not morons. They know what it is. If you want to point something out, it should be something that's hard to notice. Like maybe there's extra insulation behind the wall that they can't really notice that. Say, hey guys, just want to let you know, there's some, solar panels up here that are heating the hot water or whatever, something that's not obvious. Go ahead and point that out. But anything that like you see realtors do on TV all the time, here's the living room, here's the kitchen, like shut up, let people see the house. All right. Let them speak their mind first. Don't stick your foot in your mouth. And what I mean is you walk into a bedroom and I might say, oh, wow, look at the size of this bedroom. This is pretty big. And they're like, really? No, I don't, this isn't big enough for us. And you're like, oh, well, shoot, I guess I shouldn't have said that, you know, or man, I really like this kitchen. And they're like, oh, no, this doesn't work for me, you know? So let them speak first. So saying things like, how do you feel about the kitchen? And let them talk. And I'm not someone that's going to just agree with whatever they agree with, but things that are personal, you know, what they like is what they like. So if they look at the kitchen and it's perfectly functional, and I may not like the color, but they love it, well, who cares what I like? You know, I'm not buying the house. They are. So if they walk in and they're like, oh man, these cabinets are great. And I'm like, really? Oh, wow. Okay. But, you know, I'm not going to say that to them. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm glad you like them. I'm not going to agree and say, oh, I love them, because I'm not going to lie to them. But I will be happy to say, oh, I'm so glad you like those. That's great. You know, but I've done this so many times, sticking my foot in my mouth while showing a home. And I can tell you, as much as we think we know about the buyer clients, we often don't. So let them speak their mind. And that's just something that comes over some practice, just saying, how do you feel about this bedroom? How do you feel about that yard? You know, just asking them that. Don't give your opinion. Your opinion is kind of meaningless at that point. How do they feel about it, right? All right, so tip number 7. Acknowledge the objections, don't overcome them. And this has everything to do with last week's class. Use the PAID method, right? Pause, acknowledge, isolate, and discover. So they bring up an objection. We're going to pause. At some point, we're going to acknowledge it. Okay, so you don't like the kitchen cabinets. I'm pausing again. Say, yes, Aaron, I don't like the kitchen cabinets. Oh, okay. So other than the kitchen cabinets, would you buy the home, right? That's our isolation, or our isolating the problem. If they say, yes, other than the kitchen cabinets, we absolutely would love this home. Okay, now we can get into the discover phase, where again, we're not going to tell them the answer. We're going to play the password game with them, right? And we're going to try to get them to come up with the answer. So we say, okay, so we don't like the kitchen cabinets. What can we do about that? And let them answer. Let them come up with a solution. Well, we'd have to replace them. Okay, you'd have to replace them. How much do you think that would cost? You know, and getting them into working through that to decide if this is the right home for them. Or we might isolate it and they say, well, no, other than the kitchen cabinets, would you buy the home? No, you know, the bedrooms aren't right. We don't like the location. We don't like the driveway. We don't like the backyard. I don't think we should buy the house. Let's go find another one, right? We never answered any questions because the isolation wasn't there in order to do so. So use the PAID method when you're showing homes, and think about it. You know, for me, I have to consciously think. I have to sit down before I go out and show the home, kind of going through some of this stuff and thinking, all right, so when they object to something, I got to remember to pause. And if I just remember to pause, then I can remember the rest of it. Acknowledge, isolate, discover. So I have to consciously remind myself, okay, just pause when they bring something up. All right. Tip number 8, process of elimination. Our brains only have so much they can handle on data at one time. So if you're going to show 10 homes, 8 homes, 15 homes in one day, the marathon sessions, they will not be able to retain the information from any of the homes. So you always have to have a process of elimination, whether it's one day or maybe it's over a 3-week period, you're showing 15, 20 different homes. And ideally, we could narrow it down when somebody's looking for a home that we only show them, you know, 4 to 10 homes and they're buying one. That's ideal, but it doesn't always happen that way. You always want to use the process of elimination, again, whether it's one day or over several months. So the process of elimination works this way. You always have 4 homes that you're currently looking at. All right. So you go see some homes. After every showing, you should be asking something like, is this a home you would consider buying? If not, what are we doing with it? It's got to go in the trash, right? It's got to go. So if you keep looking at homes until you have 4 homes and they're in order. So this is number 1, this is number 2, this is number 3, number 4. and you have the MLS sheets written on them, number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then you go see another home and they say, oh, we like it. Is it better than number 4? Yeah, I think it's better than number 4. Is it better than number 3? No, I don't think it's better than number 3. Okay. So then we put it in 4th position and number 4 goes in the trash, right? So when we were showing homes with people in our cars, which hopefully we'll get back to at some point, I would tell them, actually take the MLS sheet, crumple it up, and throw it in the back of the car or throw it on the ground. Oh, no, Aaron, I'm not doing that. I'm not going to throw trash in your car. Please do it, all right? I want you to do it. You kind of make it a fun game or what have you. And I've had some really stuffy people in my car that after doing it once or twice ended up getting a real kick out of it, you know? Be like, hey, this one's gone, you know, and they toss it down and kind of have a good time with it. But there is something scientific about that throwing something away, right? So it actually psychologically allows the brain to dump it. If you don't throw it away and it's still sitting there in these pile of sheets that they're looking at, and they say, oh, I want to keep all of these over here. We'll have our 4 over here, but we're keeping these. They are telling their brain, keep that information. We're not done with it yet. But by crumpling it up and throwing it away, we have trained our brains to say, that's useless now. We don't need it anymore. It's gone. And so it actually seriously helps them do the data dump of those homes, and they're only thinking of these 4. Okay? So do that somehow, some way. If they're not in your car, that's fine. You say, all right, so we've got this buyer packet. I want you to rip out that piece of paper and you've got to give it to me. I'm throwing it away. You know, but somehow, some way, do an actual physical throwaway of those MLS sheets. Okay? All right, tip number 9, pay attention. Pay attention to them, okay? Mirror them. Sometimes people are really fast. Sometimes they're really slow. Mirror what they're doing, all right? If they're taking their time, then you need to take your time. If they're talking fast, then you need to talk fast, all right? And pay attention to the clues. On virtually every home I've ever sold with a buyer, there's a physical reaction that you can pick up on, all right? It's very rarely verbal initially. It's almost always some physical nonverbal clue to pick up on. When there's a husband and wife there, they almost always grab each other. You know, they almost always grab for each other's hands or put their hand on their shoulder. There's some sort of physical touching that happens where people are like, oh, this is the house for us, you know? So you look for those clues. It will help you understand kind of where they are with things. You also should, for the slow people that want to take a lot of time in showing a home, you want to have a conversation before you're showing the homes and telling them, when you're showing that, when we go to these homes and we're looking at them, the second you think this isn't the right home for you, we need to leave. And sometimes people will argue with you and they'll say, oh, well, you know, I still want to really look at it. It's kind of fun. Like, we're not here for fun. We're not here to just look at homes. We're here to help you find your own home. And the more we look, the more data we're putting into your head, and the harder it becomes for you to remember what we've looked at. So we can take our time and we can look through the homes as detailed as we want. But if we go up to it and your first impression is, nah, this isn't for me, well, then let's go. We don't have to walk through the home. If it's not for you, that's great, because we're only looking for the one house. All right. So let them know that. And then if they are slower, that's fine. Just let them take their time looking at homes. Just understand you might have to deal with your scheduling time with some of the slower people that are looking. Okay. But pay attention to what they're doing. All right. Tip number 10, the trial close. On every home, you should ask them, how do you feel about the home? How does this compare to the others? Is it in your top 4? Could you see yourself living here? Would you like to have Christmases here, Thanksgivings here? Like, what are we doing? You know, you want to buy this one? This. Some of my clients said that's exactly what I say. Do you want to buy this? Well, whoa, no. Oh, okay. Great. Let's throw it away. Let's move on to the next one. But I kind of like that with the right personality type. I kind of like that. Want to buy this one? No. Okay, great. Let's throw it away then. Because it's so blunt and to the point. With the right personality who can understand where I'm coming from and having fun with it, it really does get that emotion out of them that like, yeah, actually I kind of do right now. Okay, it doesn't mean we have to buy it right now, but it means you have that reaction like, yeah, I kind of do, So some sort of trial close with every home. If you're not doing the trial closes, you're wasting their time, you're wasting your time because you're not really getting anywhere. You don't really know, our job isn't to look at homes. Our job is to buy homes, right? My job as a real estate agent is to help you get what you want, which in this case, you've told me is to help you buy a home. So that's what we're doing. We're here to buy a home. We're not here to look. Period. End of story. We're not here to look. We're here to buy a home. Okay? All right. So those are the 10 tips. A couple of ancillary items there. We talked about keeping your appointment. Keep your appointment time. Remember when you're scheduling the appointments, remember about your drive time. Right? These days we have lots of great tools to help us give us exact to the second amount how much time it's going to take you to drive. But just understanding how fast your buyers look at homes. On average, I'd say most people take about 5 to 10 minutes to look at a home. If they're really liking it, it usually takes 15 to 20, but somewhere along those lines. But understanding your drive time, right? If the homes are right next to each other, it's not going to take any time at all to get over there. So don't give yourself 30 minutes to get to the next home because they might take 5 minutes on one home and then boom, you're right at the next one. So remember your drive times. Respect people's property. Okay. Just think about what you would like to have happen if it was your house that somebody else was showing. A lot of your buyers, this is the first and only time they're going into a stranger's home. For us as realtors, I'm very, very used to it and it doesn't bother me in the least. But for a lot of the buyers, it kind of does. So you talk to them about all the different rules. They can turn lights on. They can open doors. They can open closet doors. They can go down to the basement. They can flip on any switches or lights or anything like that they want. They cannot open dresser drawers. They can't open, if they could, like a safe or something like that. They're not supposed to open anything personal. We shouldn't be filtering through people's clothes in the closet. To me, this is all common sense, but it's stuff that you should say to everybody. You can say it in a joking way because sometimes they didn't know it, but like, oh yeah, I would never do that. Okay, sure. But I have had clients like opening dresser drawers and stuff. I'm like, what are you doing? We're not buying a dresser. And sometimes it's just they don't know what else to do, so they're just moving stuff around. But I mean, that's kind of weird, It's like don't open dresser drawers. They should have, if they have kids with them. And if I was buying a house right now, I would definitely have my kids with me. I would. But when I bought my last house 3 years ago, I didn't even consider having my kids with me because they were younger and I don't really care about what their opinion is. Like I'm going to buy the house I want to buy. But now that they're older, I probably would have them with me, when they're a little bit older. So I would talk to your buyers about that. If they have younger kids, I would really, really encourage them to keep the kids at home with a babysitter or parent or some other method. It's just better. It's easier for them. It's a stressful time for them. It's easier for them to emotionally feel the home if the kids aren't there. But I would never tell somebody what to do with their kids. So if they want to bring them with, fine. But I would recommend that they keep the kids with them. So if they're 3 and 4 and 5 years old, the kids need to stay with the parents. And the way to get them to do that, because I've been appalled sometimes by parenting methods and people have their kids at the house and the kids are running amok and you're just like, oh my gosh, could you please be a parent and stop them from running? But you can't really say that, right? So the way I get people to do that, because this is absolutely true, but every time it gets parents to rein their kids in, is say, a lot of people have handguns, and a lot of people keep those guns in unlocked positions. We always ask our sellers to lock up guns and things like that. But true story, 100% true story. When I was in Charlotte selling real estate, I had a client's son pick up a handgun in a house. It didn't happen to be loaded, but it could have been, and it was obviously very, very scary. And that's a true story. But you could, even if you don't have that story, you could use mine or just tell them of the possibility of that. And every time that seems to get parents to be like, oh crap, yeah, and they pull their kids in. So that's the one method I've used to kind of help people corral their kids, which it is true. It's 100% true, but it's also the one thing that tends to kind of get them to listen, okay? So respect the property. We should not use the restrooms in the home, right? Especially as you come into wintertime, a lot of the homes are winterized and there's no working water. So that could be very interesting for someone. But in general, we shouldn't use the restrooms in the home. So try to, if you have a long day, try to build in some time to go to the restrooms, things like that for your clients. However, I would say that if an adult tells me, hey man, I got to use the restroom, can we go? I mean, you know, I'm not going to probably tell an adult they can't go. So, but just talk about that ahead of time and let them know that we shouldn't be doing that. All right, lock up the home. Always go back, take a moment and go back and relock everything. Make sure all the lights are back off, but pay attention to the requests of the listing agent. Sometimes they'll tell you to leave all the lights on because they have multiple showings. So watch for that, but follow their instructions. Generally speaking, if you don't have any other instructions, leave the house the way you found it. If the lights are all on and you don't have any other instructions saying turn the lights off, I would generally say leave them the way you found it. If they're all off, then turn them all back off. All right, be careful of pets. Don't let dogs out. Don't let cats out. Just be aware of that. If you're afraid of a dog that's at the house, then don't go. Don't go in, right? I've run into that several times, and it's tough because you want to see the home, but there's a dog there that's barking and probably isn't a threat, but gosh, you just never know. And as much as I do like dogs, you know, if a dog bites me, I'm gonna kick it. I'm sorry, but I'm kicking the dog and you're gonna get away from me. And if you kick somebody's dog, you almost guaranteed to go to court, right? So I don't want that to happen to anybody. So if you are afraid of a dog that's in the house, then you just simply have to reschedule and figure out a time when maybe that owner can be there, just to avoid some big issue, okay? All right, so in summary, I mean, showing homes is very, very important, big piece of what we do. And hopefully these 10 tips will absolutely help you have better success in the showings and really a better experience for the buyers. If they have a better experience, they're going to be much more likely to refer you to other folks. So, all right. I think Pam had a issue there and jumped off, but Kim, you got any questions? Okay. All right. Well, we'll end there, and thanks for joining. All right.